This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A former Winnipeg police officer has pleaded guilty to trafficking drugs, including cocaine and psilocybin. Elston Bostock admitted to selling drugs to friends and other police officers while on duty. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck was in court.
Cocaine, psilocybin, and MDMA. Just a few of the drugs former Winnipeg police officer Elston Bostock has admitted to trafficking from 2016 to 2024. Bostock pleaded guilty to selling drugs both to civilians and to other officers. The drug trafficking charge Bostock pleaded guilty to on Monday was the last in a long list of allegations against him. He previously pleaded guilty to other provincial charges, ranging from ticket fixing to taking a photo of a partially naked dead woman. He was arrested in 2024 after a lengthy police investigation. Bostock says he sold the drugs while in uniform, in police station parking lots, and used his police vehicle to do it. In one case, Bostock arranged for a friend to buy cocaine from Bostock's suppliers and gave his friend advice on how to transport the drugs on a flight, saying there could be dogs at Winnipeg's airport, but it could be okay on a smaller flight out of St. Andrews. In another case, Bostock offered to bring MDMA and a few joints for an officer's birthday present. On one occasion, Bostock told a friend to pick up cannabis edibles while he was working at the Legislative Building. On another, he asked a cocaine supplier to come get $500 from him at the police station on Grant Avenue. Prosecutors say there was no evidence Bostock was motivated by money, describing what he did as social trafficking to friends and colleagues. They say Bostock was paid in a mix of cash, bartered items, and favors. Bostock is expected to appear at a sentencing hearing next week on all his charges. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg police are investigating a pair of hate incidents from over the weekend. A Jewish synagogue and a Palestinian restaurant, both vandalized. On Friday, leaders of the Sherry Zedek Synagogue discovered anti-Semitic symbols and messages spray-painted on the entrance. Then, on Sunday, someone smashed a window of Habibi's restaurant on Portage Avenue. We begin our coverage with Friday's incident, which Jewish leaders say was an attempt to intimidate their community. CBC's Cameron McLean has more.
So there you could still see there's a tiny bit of red paint, because it was red spray paint actually.
Rena Sector Elbaz shows the place where someone wrote hateful messages targeting Winnipeg's Jewish community. Early Friday morning, a person wearing a hoodie spray-painted words and symbols, including swastikas, on the windows and around the door of the entrance. A large crowd showed up at the congregation on Saturday, which Rabbi Carney Shalom Rose called a show of resilience and strength.
The most important thing that you could have done today was come to shul.
The synagogue has dealt with graffiti incidents in the past, including on garbage bins and around the building's perimeter, but Elbaz says this is the first time the building's front has been defaced.
I was sad and I was shocked, but I felt also angry, because I feel as a community we've been part of the fabric of Manitoba since nearly the beginning of the province, and we have our place here, and the act was made to intimidate us and feel that we don't belong.
It's one of a number of recent anti-Semitic incidents in the city, including one in December when someone interrupted a menorah lighting at the Health Sciences Centre. It also follows a mass shooting at a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney, Australia. But Rabbi Rose says events like these are rare and don't reflect widely held opinions.
I'm disappointed, I'm saddened, but I do not believe that this is a major trend in our community.
Just days after the synagogue was targeted, someone with a hammer smashed the windows of Habibi's restaurant on Portage Avenue. Mayor Scott Gillingham called on all Winnipeggers to speak out against hate.
It's hate, and we can't tolerate this kind of action in our city.
Jewish leaders say the graffiti was an attempt to silence them, one that will not work. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, 48 hours later, that second incident was discovered at a cafe owned by a man with Palestinian roots. Right now, police don't believe the crimes are linked, but say it's still early in the investigation. The CBC's Alana Cole has more on that story.
And with 3 hard shots, he just went and as hard as he could, just bang, bang, and bang, and then took off.
Habibi's Cafe owner Ali Zeid says staff arrived Sunday morning to find smashed windows. More than just vandalism, Zeid says a message of hate was left behind too.
It was sadness, heartbreaking. I seen my mom come in, she was in tears.
This photograph shows the note Zeid says was found outside. It says in part, "Leave our country, terrorists." Zeid was born and raised here. His family is Palestinian.
My father came here 50 years ago. So to see this happen, it's sad. It's very sad. But it brought us stronger. It made us stronger because the way the public has been coming in and sharing their support with us has been amazing.
Zeid says there's surveillance video, these images shared on social media. He's not sure if it's connected to what he says happened in the back lane recently, where similar comments were made. Winnipeg police are investigating, but aren't saying much about what happened.
The Winnipeg Police Service takes all hate-motivated incidents very seriously and considers the safety and the security of our community to be our highest priority.
Zeid says what he's seen from the community shows what kind of place the city is.
Children are coming in with their penny banks, showing their support. They want to help us pay for the windows. That just goes and shows you what Winnipeg's all about.
Zeid says this won't keep them from staying open. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A teenager has been charged after a Winnipeg transit driver was shot just over 2 months ago with what police believe was a pellet gun. Officers were called to the intersection of Gateway and Springfield Road the afternoon of October 27th. Police say the driver was shot following a fare dispute and was taken to hospital with minor injuries. On Sunday, police arrested a 14-year-old. He's been charged with assault with a weapon and mischief. Well, a year ago, the Winnipeg Jets were at the top of the NHL, but now the team is riding its longest losing streak since returning to Winnipeg in 2011. The team's general manager addressed the situation earlier today, offering sympathy, but no hard answers to fans. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
Some Winnipeg Jets fans are feeling like this, watching their team go from first to worst. Brad Harrison is one of them.
It's very disappointing, very frustrating. Obviously, nobody expected to see this at this point. A year ago, we were the top team in the league, and now we're the absolute bottom.
On Monday, the man responsible for putting the team together talked about the season. Kevin Cheveldayoff says he shares the same disappointment as fans.
Top to bottom, and it starts with me. I think everyone would feel like there's a level of responsibility here that, we need to find a way to be better.
Over the offseason, the Jets lost star forward Nikolai Ehlers to Carolina in free agency. Cheveldayoff added veterans like Gustav Nyquist and Tanner Pearson. Nyquist has no goals and 8 points in 30 games. Pearson has 6 points in 34 games. Hometown hero Jan.5 has 12 points in 40 games, but hadn't played in the league since 2023 before this season.
We said it when we signed him. I don't think you're going to see his best at the beginning. It's as it continues to grow, and I do think that there are aspects of his game that have grown immensely.
Cheveldayoff didn't make hard commitments to make changes Monday. He also stood behind the coaching staff and addressed his own future with the team.
Each and every day you wake up and you know that you've got a challenge in front of you, and I'm up for that challenge.
Harrison says he wanted to see more accountability.
I think people just needed to hear. It's like, look, we have a plan. We're re-examining how we draft and develop, how we look at this team and how we look at players. And there's just none of that.
Still, some people are optimistic.
I think that even through this, people kind of just need to hunker down and stick with their team.
They've had seasons where the first part was terrible, and then they just made it into the playoffs.
The Jets play 5 home games in a row starting Tuesday, hoping to end their longest losing streak since returning to Winnipeg. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, time now for a check on weather with Riley. And Riley, Happy New Year. It is nice to be back with you. And my goodness, what a way to start the new year in the weather system.
Yeah, and you know what? We're looking at, Brittany, the first full week of January here and actually getting a bit of stability after a few weeks of the Clipper, followed by the cold, followed by the Clipper and the cold once again. So we are entering a stretch where we're looking at temperatures above seasonal for this time of the year. At a glance, as we head through the next few days here, looking at a dusting of snow for northern Manitoba. That comes overnight into the morning hours on Tuesday. Temperatures fairly stable for the south. We'll get some clearing as we get through the day tomorrow, but temperatures remaining above seasonal. That's going to be the story as we get through the next few days here. I mean, still a couple of odds, scattered flurries, maybe some mixed precipitation, mainly along the international border, but we're starting to get some holes in that cloud, although we're still looking at some fairly low cloud closer to the surface here in the Red River Valley as we head through the night. -8 in Winnipeg, dropping down to -10 first thing in the morning, and then we'll be hovering around -9 as we get through the day tomorrow. Start to get some clearing here in the Red River Valley, Brittany, as we get through the middle to late afternoon, but there is a bit more sunshine in the long range, and I'll have more on that coming up.
All right, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Meantime, a Manitoba First Nation is pleading for help after burst pipes damaged homes. We'll have more on that straight ahead. Manitoba's Premier will join a list of leaders visiting Pimachikamak Cree Nation Wednesday. The community struggled with a power outage in frigid temperatures over the holidays. Even though power has been restored, frozen water pipes burst and sewage systems failed. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
Stuck at a hotel with next to no belongings, Jessica Barkman and her family are waiting to hear when they can go home to Pimachikamak Cree Nation.
I feel exhausted and also I feel anxious because I spent 3 months in Winnipeg this past summer from the fire evacuation, and the thought of having to unknown stay how long I'll be in Winnipeg, I'm very anxious because of my 3 children will be cooped up again in the hotel rooms.
The power is back on, but the First Nation now faces an infrastructure crisis. Frozen pipes are bursting and causing flooding in many houses. There are also sewer backups. Most homes don't have running water.
They found my house. There's a smell of sewer and there's no heat. And my daughter's house covered with water on the floor.
Chief David Monia says about 1,000 homes are compromised and around 200 are unlivable right now. 4 homes also burned, most from electrical shortages and one because of a fire that started while residents were trying to keep warm.
We had called for Canadian Armed Forces to come and help us out. We need engineers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. We don't have enough in the community.
A major water system faces issues too.
Our water treatment plant is ready to collapse, and that services the north side of the reserve. It's pretty much ready to explode because we have water leaking within the entire treatment plant right now as we speak.
Indigenous Services Canada says it will provide financial support to help with damaged infrastructure. A provincial spokesperson said Saturday multiple agencies are working to bring tradespeople to the community. The spokesperson also said discussions are ongoing to coordinate water delivery. It's help that can't come soon enough.
We're running out of food, we're running out of water.
Chief Monia says they're looking at more than $40 million in damages, and there's no timeline yet on when around 4,000 residents can go home. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
One expert says Manitobans should expect higher cabin and home insurance premiums this year, or potentially fewer options or nothing at all. It comes after a wildfire season that claimed at least 130 properties last spring and summer and threatened thousands more. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel brings us more from 2 couples who lost homes last year.
You really need to understand what you're covered for.
This couple says they learned the hard way. They didn't have enough insurance to replace everything they lost last May. Their family cabin in the RM of Lac du Bonny was destroyed by a fast-moving wildfire.
This has been one of the hardest years of our lives. You lose your future, you lose your past.
Leanne Ross Martin says she began shopping around for a more comprehensive policy in case of a next time, but she discovered many insurers didn't want to take them on due to the complete loss of their cottage and the wildfires.
It was quite shocking to me and quite frustrating.
Their new annual premium is more than double the last one. It's part of an overall pattern of increasing rates amid extreme weather events this expert says Manitobans should expect this year.
Insurance is a business, and they're going to be looking to recoup those losses.
The University of Waterloo's Jason Thistlethwaite says owners may also encounter new caps on payouts or exclusions in their policies. Rob Dupree with the Insurance Bureau of Canada says a number of factors are driving up premiums, including the cost of construction and frequency of extreme weather events.
It's just important to remember that there's many different insurance providers in Manitoba. And if you are faced with high insurance costs or you're not able to get a renewal, to make sure that you shop around.
Dupree says, though, companies don't usually sell new insurance policies when communities are being threatened. One Winnipeg man whose in-laws' home burnt down on Boxing Day told CBC they couldn't get it insured last year due to the wildfires. Reg and Sadie Harder completed construction on their house in Manigatogan last spring. Their son-in-law says they'd already connected with an insurance provider when a wildfire tore through nearby Nopaming Provincial Park.
They said, okay, we're holding off insuring any new cabins right now or any new homes in that area. Let us know come January, contact us again, and we'll look at insuring it.
But days before the new year, their uninsured home was gutted by a generator fire. Experts are renewing calls for a national property insurance program so owners have access to insurance and keep rates low. The federal government says a national flood insurance program is still in the works, but coverage for wildfires is not a part of that. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, Riley, back in. Now it is nice to be back
Yes,
here
it is.
beside you. I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Hope you had a nice holidays.
Hope you did too.
And our viewers as well. But my goodness, what a welcome back. The start of January, looking at minus single digits that we're seeing this week.
You missed the cold New Year's.
Right?
You missed the cold New Year's.
I asked you before if you had any New Year's resolutions, and in true Riley fashion, you responded with?
Just to provide good weather.
But you know what, as we just saw in those stories, it was a really tough 2025 for a lot of people. So here's hoping that 2026 brings a bigger, brighter, better year for many, many people. And we are starting it off with some better weather already than we see.
So far, a very stable start to the year, Brittany, at least this first full week of 2026. I'm going to start talking precipitation because at the end of December, we ended with a pretty healthy snowpack. You know what? Those clippers that kept coming through every few days did help our snowpack, particularly on the western side of the province. So as of the end of the month, Winnipeg had about 18 centimeters of snow on the ground. This is according to Environment Canada's snow sensors that measures how much snow there is on the ground at the airport. So Brandon had 14 centimeters on the ground, Thompson at 25 centimeters. And compared to average, this is fairly average for this time of the year now. And even precipitation through December for many locations above what we would normally see in a typical December. But that's one thing. If you look back several months before that into fall, remember when I was here talking about that moisture deficit? Well, that is still there, and we could use some moisture to keep topping up that reservoir, if you will, as we get toward the spring and the summer growing months here for our agricultural producers. So definitely could use more precipitation, but what we saw in December, certainly a good start across southern Manitoba. Right now, looking at cloud cover across much of the province, a lot of this low-level cloud cover that we've seen, particularly in southern Manitoba, where we did get into some fog first thing this morning. A couple of stray flurries still through the Interlake into northwestern Ontario. This is where we do have the likelihood along the international border, really into southeastern Manitoba, northwestern Ontario, of seeing some patchy fog through the evening hours tonight. So some snow into northern Manitoba, another quick dusting, couple of centimeters, if that, as we get through the next 24 hours, even 12 hours, and then high pressure starts to set in. So a sunnier start in western parts of the province tomorrow. It takes a while before we start to see that into the Interlake and into the Red River valleys. So we are looking at a clearing trend as we get through the day tomorrow. But then as we get through into Wednesday, that's when we're looking at much brighter conditions setting in and looking at a much sloppier Wednesday and Thursday. So your reminder now to stock up on that washer fluid if you haven't, because we're looking at things perhaps melting on the streets a little bit with a bit more sunshine, a bit more of us on the roads once again. Yeah, it could be a bit sloppy as we get toward the middle of the week here and then into Thursday. Again, looking at a mix of sun and clouds pretty generally across the province. So again, another 2 to 4 centimeters across parts of northern Manitoba as we get through the day tomorrow, looking at temperatures around -10 first thing in the morning. And then in the long range, Brittany, temperatures staying in the minus single digits as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, and lots of sunshine.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, stay with us. There is much more to come straight ahead. Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro appeared in a New York courtroom Monday, where the deposed leader pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and other charges. He insisted he's innocent and described himself as a decent man. Katie Nicholson has more.
Nicolas Maduro herded by DEA officers from a helicopter to a Manhattan court. Inside, the former Venezuelan leader pleaded not guilty to a 4-count indictment of drug trafficking and weapons charges. Maduro's lawyer, Barry Pollock, a leading trial lawyer, opted not to seek bail for now. It's been barely 48 hours since a stunning overnight U.S. military operation whisked Maduro and his wife away from their bed in Caracas to custody in New York. Maduro's number 2, Delcy Rodriguez, hastily sworn in as president, a continuation of the government the U.S. previously refused to accept as legitimate. The U.S. says there are no immediate plans for any elections.
All of that, I think, is premature at this point. There's a lot of work to be done here.
Today, Venezuela's National Assembly started a new session with a demand Maduro be released. Maduro's son took the floor.
La patria está en buenas manos, papá.
The country is in good hands, Dad, he said, but there remains much uncertainty about who will actually be calling the shots in Venezuela. Last night, the U.S. president doubled down on earlier assertions of U.S. control.
We're in charge.
Trump is pushing for U.S. oil companies to step in and redevelop Venezuela's oil industry, all as a hefty U.S. military presence remains in the region. In the UN, consternation. A letter from the Secretary General read on the floor.
I am deeply concerned about the possible intensification, the instability in the country.
As the U.S. ambassador defended the administration's actions.
There is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation.
In Venezuela, hopes for a peaceful return to democracy. We've lived through suffering, he says. We've lived through everything. We're looking for peace in Venezuela. All as a wariness lingers in the uncertainty of what happens next. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
For Venezuelans, opinions and reaction have been mixed and divided. While much of the population wanted change, not all agree having a foreign country take action is the right way to do it. Betty Paz is a Venezuelan who lives here in Winnipeg. Betty, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So how did you feel this weekend when you heard and saw the U.S. military operation on Venezuela and the capturing of its president?
Well, you know, it was 3:30 in the morning when my friend called me. She lives in Spain, so she heard the news first, and I could not believe it. I was shocked. I started crying right away. I was having heart palpitations. The both of us were going back and forth saying how we cannot believe that this was finally happening. And so joy, I felt a lot of joy and then all sorts of emotions.
Betty, explain to me a little bit about why you were feeling joy.
Well, it's a delicate situation. My family lives there. And for the moment, they are staying home with enough water and food because they're afraid of what the government can do if they go out. So we're just waiting to see what's going to happen in the next hours, days, and weeks. Joy, because I know this is something that we all Venezuelans have been waiting for over 20 years now. We have done everything we can in a peaceful way. When you're dealing with a violent regime, this is a proof that, you know, that doesn't work and you have to act in a different way.
So for now, Donald Trump has said the U.S. will run the country until a proper transition can take place. So what's your reaction to the state of what's happening now in your home country?
It's been over 20 years of this violent regime. And there's so much pain, there's so much suffering, there's so much trauma. Plus, my country is completely ruined. It has been ruined by greed, by power. There's mass migration that has become a global problem. Thousands of political prisoners, people tortured and killed over the years, and other invading countries that have already infiltrated every aspect of the government. So regardless of you know, how uncertain things are at the moment, I can tell you that these are excited times and that this is a historic moment, and we're hopeful, you know.
You mentioned so many people leaving the country. Over the last 12 years, it's really been at the heart of the largest displacement crisis in the Americas, nearly 8 million people having left the country over that period. You left in 2007, but as you said, your family and friends have all still been there. What has life been like for people there?
There is a lot of repression. Over the years, everything has changed so much that even for me, it's hard to picture, even though I have that connection with my family and I hear from there what they're going through, even for me, it's hard to picture what it's like to go through what they've been going through. Just the levels of violence, the shortage of food at certain times, electricity, water. It's a very complex situation, and it's hard to picture and to explain what it's like when you are not going through it every day. So it's been really, really hard. For example, calling my mom every day or every other day since things became, things starting to escalate, and hearing saying, what have you heard? Because we don't hear anything here. We don't know anything in the news. Like, nobody knows what's happening. Is it gonna happen today, Betty? Is it gonna happen today? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom, just have to be patient. Just wait and see. Just wait and see. So there's a lot of uncertainty every day and expectations, and it's a struggle. It's a daily struggle.
It must be so hard being so far away from your family, and I'm thankful that you did say that they are safe right now. What is your hope for your home country moving forward?
I hope for a peaceful transition to democracy, beginning with the release of the political prisoners. I hope that the mandate of the Venezuelans for the elections in 2024, where Edmundo González Urrutia won, it's been heard. I hope that is, as well as, the amazing movement and the amazing effort and work that Maria Corina Machado has, done. Amazing, unthinkable. She has done the unthinkable for all of us, and she has brought hope back to Venezuela. And so for me, I hope for a peaceful transition to democracy. Again, the release of the political prisoners, and so that Venezuelans can live dignified, free life with the basic needs met and with security and prosperity.
Betty, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, in the wake of the American incursion into Venezuela, Donald Trump is again threatening Greenland. He says the U.S. needs the Danish territory for national security purposes. Crystal Gamansing looks at European reaction to his comment.
European leaders are speaking out in support of Greenland's sovereignty. U.S. President Donald Trump restated his desire to take control of the territory on Sunday. The timing is causing some to weigh his words carefully. He did just launch military action on Venezuela. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen told the country's public broadcaster the American president should be taken seriously when he says he wants Greenland. Trump told reporters on board Air Force One Sunday that America needs the self-governing territory that falls under the administration of Denmark for security reasons.
I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
Greenland is rich in natural resources and strategically located in the Arctic, along with Russia and China. They have been increasing military and commercial activities in the region. Denmark is a NATO member, and its prime minister said if the U.S. attacks another NATO country, then everything stops. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer clearly put his support behind Denmark and Greenland, but chose his words carefully.
Well, the future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and for Greenland and the future of Denmark only. And Denmark is a very close ally of the UK, both in Europe and in NATO, and it's very important that we're clear about the principles applicable to here. Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark must determine the future of Greenland and nobody else.
Similar statements were made today by the spokesperson for the European Commission, as well as officials in France and Germany. Trump made a point of saying he would say more about his desire to take control of Greenland in a few weeks' time. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has appointed Chrystia Freeland as his economic advisor on economic development, a new role that's raising questions about when the longtime Liberal MP will step down and trigger a by-election in a minority parliament. Zelensky announced Freeland's appointment Monday morning on social media, citing her experience. He also posted a photo of the two of them together in Kyiv earlier in the day. Freeland, who has Ukrainian ancestry, was also Canada's special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine, but resigned from that position Monday afternoon. She also says she'll leave her seat in Parliament in the coming weeks. Freeland had previously announced plans to leave politics to start a new job in the UK in July. Conservatives say she should resign immediately. A 57-year-old Winnipeg man died over the weekend after being hit by a semi-trailer. RCMP found the victim in the median ditch on Highway 75 just south of St. Jean-Baptiste. Two semi-trucks were stopped in the southbound lane. Police say the victim was the driver of one of the semis and was hit by the other while he was standing on the highway. The other driver was not hurt. And we have much more local news straight ahead. Stay with us. A Winnipeg man whose toddler died from fentanyl intoxication nearly 3 years ago is expected to be released today. It comes on what was supposed to be the first day of his trial, where instead he pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel brings us more.
Gary Bruce sobbed as he entered his guilty plea in front of his mother and 2 nieces. The now 40-year-old was charged with manslaughter in the death of his 1-year-old daughter in March 2023. It's a case both lawyers and the judge called serious and tragic. Court heard Bruce and his partner Sabrina Boulette delayed calling 911 after their toddler Hannah became increasingly unresponsive and unwell throughout the day. Court heard they also lied to paramedics about what happened and where they were. It was later determined the child died from fentanyl intoxication. According to an agreed statement of facts, the apartment was in deplorable condition, strewn with drug paraphernalia, including a loaded syringe in an open diaper box on the bathroom floor. Court heard it's unclear how Hannah ingested the fentanyl. What is clear, Crown Attorney Boyd McGill told the court, is that by not seeking immediate medical assistance, life-saving naloxone was not administered in time. Bruce's partner and Hannah's mother, Boulette, pleaded guilty to manslaughter in October and is awaiting sentencing. The Crown and defense put forward a joint recommendation of time served, and the judge accepted it. Bruce is expected to be released Monday after nearly 2 years in custody. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
It's a staple of the Manitoba prairies, fields of wheat. But you'll be seeing less of it as many farmers are planning to grow alternative crops. CBC's Jura McElraith explains.
Cereal crops may be a less common sight in southeastern Manitoba this growing season. Many farmers are favoring varieties of corn, sunflowers, and soybeans. Why? Low profit margins and the high cost of seed and fertilizer.
I've bought my corn seed, I bought my fertilizer for corn, and I will be upping my corn and my farm rotation to 25%. I've completely axed wheat.
In 2021, farmers earned around $7 per bushel on wheat. It's roughly the same price today, but input costs are double. So farmers like Andrew James are trying to find varieties of corn that grow well here. He and his brother Matt have grown corn before, but never this much, and it's a scary jump.
As a young farmer, it is a bit of a challenge to get into corn, and it's a challenge, but like my brother and I haven't been farming for all that long, and we want to farm, another many years in the future. So we kind of see like we have to make that investment.
Farmers like Andrew James buy next year's seed from seed farms like this one near St. Anne. James is dividing his 3,000 acres almost evenly between sunflower, corn, soybeans, and oats. Farmers need specific equipment and the ability to dry harvested corn and sunflowers.
We're seeing more corn. We're seeing a lot of soybeans out there. Canola also did quite well, so farmers tend to have a short memory sometimes. Things that performed well the year prior will often be popular the next year.
It's not just corn. Karis Hutlett says some Manitoba farmers are also considering growing more edible crops like peas and even birdseed. But the next bumper crop will all come down to factors like the market and the weather, factors farmers can't control, with time to decide what to put in the ground next spring quickly slipping through their fingers. Jura McElraith, CBC News, Dufresne.
The federal government is easing up restrictions on the number of flights coming in from the Middle East. It's part of a plan to boost trade with the region, and Canadian airline travelers could benefit as well. Ashley Burke explains.
It's like my own little house over here.
Watching viral videos like this is the only way for some Canadians to experience flights from the Middle East, famous for their first-class seats.
Just the concept of showering at 35,000 feet is a little bit bonkers.
But now Canada's opening up its skies to more flights from Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Past diplomatic disputes had limited flights.
There is renewed and increased interest and perhaps attention on these issues.
After the Prime Minister's visit to Abu Dhabi to diversify trade away from the U.S., Canada announced new reciprocal agreements, which will loosen up restrictions limiting some foreign flights.
The global economy
is being rewired. Canada isn't retreating.
Carney's government will now allow from Saudi Arabia as many as 14 passenger flights per week, up from 4. And from the UAE, as many as 35 a week, up from a maximum of 21. Plus unlimited cargo flights from each country.
This is all part of our ambition to continue to grow export markets, build and strengthen business ties.
Airlines from the Middle East will be able to fly more Canadian travelers to their hubs and connecting flights all over the world.
Canadian carriers are going to have to up the ante and up their game.
This aviation expert says Canadian travelers are the true winners in all of this.
It'll push Air Canada, it'll push WestJet, it may push our friends over Transat to kind of look at the service level they're offering on board the airplane.
He says Canadian airlines will likely have to upgrade their planes, cabins, and customer service to go head-to-head with these competitors from the Middle East, and adds that these foreign airlines know how to fill up their seats with low-cost economy tickets as they try to bring in big money from their first-class seats. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
All right, Riley, back in now. And Riley, I know that we are not the only ones that are enjoying these warmer than seasonal temperatures right now. The pups that have been out that haven't had to put the booties on maybe can leave them aside for a couple days, depending on what time you're going out for that walk. It is quite the start to the new year.
Yeah.
I'll say it again.
I mean, it's nice to get out of the deep freeze for a bit here into some above seasonal temperatures. Is it the best for the river trail? Probably
well, it
not.
did
There's
open early, which is also great
exactly.
as well. So I don't know. I haven't seen what the ice conditions are like, but it will come back. We know that.
Exactly. And not just the pups that are enjoying this warm weather. I have another animal to show you. Before we get to your dog walking forecast, let's have a look at this. We got this picture in from near Riding Mountain National Park. Maria snapping a picture of this visitor just out for a stroll. Thank you for sending this picture in. As always, you can send your pics of our province, of your yard, of the sunset, anything like that to talkback@cbc.ca. And that's also where you can send your pics for the dog walking forecast, which is what Mylene did of Danda here. And here's a fun fact for you. So the Danda's 3.5 years old, but she can understand 3 languages, English, French, and Tagalog. So I don't know if your pup can do that. I can't even do that. I can understand English and French, but that's about it. So keep sending your pictures in to talkback@cbc.ca. So as we get into the afternoon tomorrow, temperatures hovering around -9. It'll be late afternoon by the time we get into a bit of clearing, and that sets us up for a partly cloudy evening. Again, temperatures hovering around -10, or -9 or so, which is a few degrees above seasonal for this time of the year. So -6 at the moment. That's about as good as we did this afternoon in Winnipeg. A light south wind right now, but it's the ceiling I wanted to talk about for a minute. Usually that ceiling, unlimited, 2,000-3,000 meters, hovering at around 100 meters earlier today in Winnipeg. So we're starting to see some of that low cloud cover lifting, but still hanging around here as we head into the evening hours. -8 in Brandon, Thompson, Lynn Lake, both at -20, Gillem at -23 at the moment, where we are seeing some cooler air start to push back into parts of northern Manitoba. So overnight tonight, looking at the potential for some fog patches into southeastern parts of the province, into northwestern Ontario. Otherwise, a cloudy sky through the Interlake and back into western Manitoba, -16 in Dauphin tonight. I'm looking at light snow ending west to east as we head through the night tonight into northern Manitoba. Temperatures bottoming out around -22 in Thompson, -26 along the Hudson Bay coast. Then we get into some clearing, but then there's another brief disturbance in behind this that'll bring some flurries to places like Lynn Lake as we head through the afternoon tomorrow. Temperatures in the -teens, and then into southern Manitoba. Again, we're stuck into some of that cloud cover first thing in the morning through the Interlake and right back into northwestern Ontario, where we could get a few flurries first thing in the morning. But the west starts to get some of that clearing in the morning, so more like a mix of sun and clouds for places like Dauphin tomorrow, -8 in Brandon, Verdun, -8 tomorrow afternoon. And Brittany looking at temperatures around the -10 mark for much of the Red River Valley and the Interlake as we head through the day tomorrow.
All right, thanks so much, Riley.
Welcome.
Well, hundreds of busy beaders gathered at the Manitoba Museum over the weekend. The Beadathon brings communities together during the cold winter months while raising funds for museum programming. Beaders of all skill levels took part, and participants bought a seat for the event, a beading kit if they needed one, and spent the day making everything from pin cushions to gloves. 15 beating buddies were also making the rounds to share their expertise and help out. Organizers say interest in Indigenous beating is growing.
This is also a way to get Indigenous people or anybody of any background connected with this Indigenous art form and connected with the artifacts or the ancestral belongings in our museum galleries.
Now, proceeds from the beat-a-thon go toward the Manitoba Museum's Access for All programming. Still ahead, a group of carolers are bringing traditional Ukrainian songs to people's doorsteps. We'll tell you why after the break. And Riley's back with a last check on our forecast.
All right, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at this very stable stretch of weather continuing really through the balance of the work week. Again, temperatures remaining above seasonal for this time of the year, all the way up to -4 for Thursday. But next couple into Wednesday, Thursday, for example, extreme southern parts of the province, Morden, Winkler, and Melita could even get closer to the freezing mark than this. So -8, chance of flurries into Friday, Saturday, closer to seasonal into Saturday, Sunday -8 as well, a mix of sun and clouds. And there we go, up to -1 for next Monday. The Brandon Ukrainian-Canadian Association TriZub spent time this weekend caroling for the armed forces of Ukraine and fundraising for the country's frontline.
Carolers visited different households singing traditional Ukrainian songs to raise money to send supplies back to the war-torn country.
Today, we bring the joy of Christmas to everyone's house. In Ukraine, caroling is the very good and old tradition. On Christmas Eve, Christmas days, and from Christmas until like few weeks after Christmas, everyone is going to everyone's house, kolядують, that's caroling.
Well, it's heritage, right? It's keeping our traditions. It's great. We're going to drive around, have some fun, carol, yeah.
Because we continue to keep our tradition and teach our kids and family and come together. It's showing that we are Ukrainians are together. And it was so special because for us Ukrainians, it's mean that caroling brings prosperity, happiness, health. And it was so special. It felt like home.
We are caroling to raise money for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. It's identified as Ukrainians here in Brandon. Fortunately, of the war, we're doing a lot of fundraisers to support our other brothers and sisters in Ukraine and raising money to send to support their efforts. We wish everyone would be at a Christmas table today, and we know for those who are on the front line in the battlefield, they are not celebrating Christmas as they wish for, and we hope this year will be a final year for us to celebrate the victory and Ukraine to be strong as never been before.
I love to see it because it makes me feel like the holidays are still happening.
Yeah, and you got to have strong hands to play that accordion in the
Exactly.
cold weather that we
Oh my goodness. Well, Happy New Year. Fresh start to January.
Yes.
We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great
night.